Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for listening, and welcome back to another episode of the Business Owners Freedom Formula Show, where we chat with inspiring entrepreneurs and dig into their highs, lows, and everything in between of their business building journey and learn about how they've been able to achieve ultimate freedom. In today's episode number 15, we have another great guest with us here today, and we are going to jump right in. So we've got Big A. If you ever watch his Facebook Lives, Aaron Walker is without question a veteran entrepreneur, starting his first business at 18 and selling to a Fortune 500 company 9 short years later demonstrates Aaron's passion for succeeding. Unwilling to rest on past success, Aaron has started, bought, and sold 8 successful companies over the past 37 years. Having a strong desire for personal development has kept Aaron in a weekly mastermind group for more than a decade with Dave Ramsey, Dan Miller, Ken Abraham, and 7 other notable Nashvillians. Aaron has enjoyed a 36-year marriage with his beautiful wife, Robin. And today, Aaron spends the majority of his time helping men grow in success and significance as president and founder of View from the Top, a premier life and business coaching resource. Aaron's new book, View from the Top, is guaranteed to motivate and inspire you to live a successful, significant life. So that's Aaron Walker from View from the Top. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here. How is it going today?
Hey, Paul. What a great day, buddy. Thank you for having me on, man. I'm fired up. I've been excited about this, that I knew it was coming this morning. I'm fired up. It's a beautiful day in Nashville, and I hope it is where your listeners are at.
Yes, I hope so as well. I am in Raleigh. It is beautiful here, and Nashville is probably one of the favorite places for me to visit. The vibe, the people, the atmosphere, everything is always good there, and obviously the good Southern hospitality and food as well. So we got Aaron here, and obviously he's done a lot of great things, and we're going to rewind back to when you were 18. What drove you to start that first business anyway?
Well, we got to go a little further back. Can we?
All right, we can go as far back as you want.
I got to go a little further back, and I'll give just a real quick version just for context, just so you'll know who I am. I don't want to make this interview about me. I want to make it about your listeners and how they can have that successful and significant life. But just for context, at 13 years old, I started working for a local pawn shop. My dad helped remodel this, and we started working there. And so I asked him, could I help him clean up and sweep? And he hired me on the spot. I said, it's the shortest interview in history. It took about 5 minutes for me to tell this guy I'd do whatever it took to make a little bit of money. Started out at $1.70 an hour. When I was 13 years old, I thought I was crushing it. So I fell in love with the business, Paul. At 15 years old, I decided that I wanted to do that from now on. And people say, but that's crazy, 15 years old. I loved it, though. I loved interacting with the people. It was something different every day. But I had one small problem. I didn't have any money. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do about this, but I'm sure at some point it'll work out. So I started going to summer school and night school for 18 months. I had enough credits to graduate high school, the beginning of my junior year in high school, and I started working every day. So I met a couple of guys named Roger Street and Dale Garrett. They own the 21st largest insurance agency in the country. And they were buying diamonds and gold from me to kind of hedge against inflation. And they were putting it in a lockbox in a local bank. I went to them one day and I said, hey, why don't we take that diamonds and gold that you've got and your money and my experience and open our own pawn shop? They started laughing, just kind of like you did. And they said, we've never had anybody 18 years old contact us. And I said, hey, there's a first time for everything. What do you think? So they started talking about it seriously. I mean, they didn't take me serious at first, but then they said, how much would it take to open a pawn shop? I didn't have a clue. I mean, I didn't know from nothing, Paul, at the time, but I went back and I did as best business plan as I knew how to do. I went back and I said, it'll take $150,000. And they went, man, that's a lot of money. And it was, in the late 70s, that's a lot of money today. But anyway, make a long story short, I talked them into it, or I guess divine intervention, right? So we did. We opened a pawn shop, and Robin and I got married 2 weeks out of high school. And so we started working in the business, and God just blessed it. It was amazing what he did with it. We went to the bank and borrowed the money. They wanted my name on the note instead of giving the money. So I signed the note, a 10-year loan. We paid it off in 3 years. We just poured the money back into it. I repeated that 4 times. Time I was 27 years old, we had 4 stores, and a company called Cash America in Fort Worth, Texas, learned about us. They came, they rung that bell. They said, hey, we'll give you this much money. And I thought, dadgum, this is unbelievable. I go from nothing to retiring in 9 years. And so I did. Took 18 months off, got fat and lazy. Robin said, you got to go back to work. And I did. I bought the company I started with when I was 13 years old. We spent the next 10 years, building that business. I worked 3 days a week. My partner worked the other 3. And I had a life of utopia until August 1st, 2001. And my life come to a screeching halt that day. I was headed to the office, and a pedestrian crossed the street in front of me to catch a bus, didn't look my way, and I ran over and killed a pedestrian. And I don't want to bring the room down, but it brought me down, and my life radically changed that day. And so Robin and I talked about it. We decided to retire again for the second time. She said, I've retired more than the law allows. But we took the next 5 years off, and I kind of got my legs back under me, and we built a new house, and we traveled extensively. And here's the pivotal point for the interview for me. My life changed that day for a number of reasons. First of all, I had been very successful. We had made money, and I was able to retire early. We had a place on the beach in Destin, and then one time we had a place in the mountains. And I don't say that to boast. I say that to say that I was trying to fill a void in my life, and it was with success. And what I discovered, though, Paul, in that is that I had no significance. I wasn't doing anything for anybody else. And I vowed then that I would look outward rather than inward. So 5 years later, Robin goes, you're getting fat and lazy again. It's time to go back to work. So I did. We went in the construction industry, and we started building high-end residence and small commercial. And we became #1 builder 3 consecutive years in Middle Tennessee. We really took that to another level. At 50 years old, I retired for the third time. I said, I'm done. I retired. And my mastermind members, Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller and some of those guys, said, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go to the Caribbean. I'm going to fish and hunt. And Dan Miller started laughing. He said, you've tried that twice, and it hasn't worked out well for you. He said, Aaron, listen, you've got 3 decades of being married. You've had 8 successful businesses at the time. Now we've had 12, actually. I need to update that bio. And he said, you need to coach. And I said, I'm not coaching anybody. I'm through. Dave Ramsey said, come do Entree Leadership Mastery Series. Dan Miller said, come do Innovate. And I did Paul, excuse me. I loved it. I absolutely loved coaching. So then we birthed View from the Top. Now we have national and international clients. We have 8 mastermind groups. We lead men all over the world. And I've just released my new book, View from the Top.
Congratulations.
So there's 38 years and 5 minutes of my history. And I'm welcome you to ask any questions related to that, or we'll dive into whatever you'd like.
Wow. Well, I think, even just going back, and I think that's really inspiring. I don't know if there's any kids these days that actually get a job when they're 13 anymore.
Well, they need to get their butt off the couch and put those video games down and go get them a part-time job to get them started.
I hear you. And I think that really, if anything, it really just teaches you the actual value of work and heart and dedication and goal setting and all that.
Right.
And that $1.70 you were making an hour, that was the most you ever made. So you cherish that thing like it was, like it was the $1 million thing that you finally got to.
No question about it. I probably saved as much then as I ever have. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have any expenses, so I was able to sock it away a little bit.
So yeah, we'll just kind of dive into,
Sure.
really a lot of the things that you went through. And one of the things that really kind of hit home is, you had all the success financially and you were building these businesses, but you weren't really significant in the fact that you weren't impacting people's lives. You weren't fulfilled, and you're always trying to fill it with something. And actually, a mutual friend of ours, Matt Miller, when he was on our last episode, he had the Zig Ziglar quote that if you help enough people get to where they want to go, you'll be taken care of. And it sounds like everything has kind of come full circle, and now you're really able to do that. So being able to sell all these businesses is no easy task. And, they have to be in a point to sell unless you're just dumping them in a fire sale. So based on my experience of just selling one business, you had to have had some systems and processes in place to go from sweeping floors from $1.70 to then starting your first business, scaling it to 4, selling it, buying that original business and scaling that. So what, kind of dig into some of the things that you had in place to make that happen.
Yeah. Can we go back? You just said something I want to circle back around to, because it's kind of a thought that a lot of people had. You said, well, you've had all these successful businesses and then you were able to come full circle and then have a life of significance. And see, that's kind of a myth. That's what most people believe. And that's what I believed initially, but that's really not true. What we need to have is a life of huge success simultaneously having huge significance. See, we think it's got to be one or the other. A lot of people are living their life today thinking, hey, when I get over there, when I get this, when I get the mortgage paid off, when I get this kids educated, when I get a little more money in the bank, when I have one more store, then I'll be significant. And that's not the way it works. That's what I'm trying to teach against. What I'm trying to teach is be well-rounded in regards to your personal achievements and desires and the success that you have financially. Now, I don't want to be that guy that says, oh, yeah, sell all you got, give it to the poor. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying make all you can. I love having a great life. I love traveling. I love having a nice car. I love having a nice house. I love having a little bit of money in the bank, you know. I love having all those things. It's good. It makes me feel good. I say, you know, have it, but don't let it own you, right? You want to own the possessions. You don't want the possessions to own you. Simultaneously, Paul, looking outward in how can I help the other people achieve their goals and their dreams. Be a giver. Adam Grant wrote a great book called Givers and Takers. We're one or the other. There's a third one called a matcher. Most people are not, but you're either a giver or a taker. Well, see, I was a taker. Mm-hmm. I was all about myself. I was all about having the big house on the hill, the place on the beach. And I spent no effort or energy looking outward saying, how can I make Paul's life better? What can I do to help his podcast? What can I help do for his systems and process business? What can I do? And see, when you start taking that approach, you become significant. Simultaneously, people want your services and your product more, and you become more successful.
Awesome. Totally agree. And I think that's really, you know, kind of going back to that Zig Ziglar quote, you can do everything simultaneously, and crazy things happen when you start serving other people and realizing what you were able to achieve, you know, and you're doing the same thing and helping others out there, you know, get them where they want to go as well, and doing it simultaneously. Totally agree there. So appreciate kind of diving into that a little bit more and helping the listeners out there.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good insight there. So, you know, kind of going into all those businesses you were building, you know, what kind of systems and processes did you have in place to allow you to do that while at the same time, you know, achieving your goal of, you know, freedom in the sense that you had these businesses? Sounds like obviously, you know, self-sufficient without you, if you did have 4 locations at one point.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. First of all, first and foremost, even before systems and processes, is that we've got to put people over profit. Every time. It's all about the relationship. You need a strong relationship in building your businesses. People get carried away sometimes and they try to do it the opposite. They try to get all the systems and processes in place, and they forget the most important part, which is the relationship. Yep. So I want to say, first and foremost, our success has been derived completely from building relationships. And as a result of that, we had to build systems and processes. So I'm a big delegator. I believe in delegating because you can't grow without delegating. So there's an exercise that we go through to where we really decide what is that I do and only I can do. What is it that I can delegate and what is it I can eliminate? So I want to do one or the other. Only I can do it, I delegate it, or I eliminate it. And then there's another step that you can do, and it's automate. So only I can do, delegate it, automate it, or eliminate it. Those are the things that we need to decide. So in all businesses, there's things that I'm not too good to do, but I don't need to be doing because I can delegate that out. So you want to have it appropriate to the person that can do it. Administrative things, financial things. In my business now, I don't want to do any of those things. I have a team of people now. I have a COO, I have virtual assistants, I have an executive assistant, but I didn't at first. See, here's the other thing. People try to grow a little bit too fast. You need to grow slowly, right? I don't need to hit it out of the park every day. I need base hits every day. That's what's going to win the game. And so we started out, it was me. I was in my home with this business. There's many, many other businesses that we could talk about. Well, we'll just talk about this one presently. I started out coaching one-on-one. I started getting on podcasts, and my schedule filled up immediately. And I said, well, okay, I can't take any more one-on-one clients, so I started mastermind groups. And then I hired a COO, chief operating officer. The chief operating officer came in. I said, I want to show up and drive. I don't want to do the administrative task. I don't want to do the HubSpot, the Meet Edgar, the Hootsuite, the Facebook. I don't want to do all those posts. I want to do what I do best. And what I do best is I coach. I encourage. It's my spiritual gift, encouragement. And so I want to encourage people. Nobody else can do that but me, right? I'm the encourager. I'm the coach. I'm the instructor. I'm the facilitator. I'm the leader. Now, I don't need to be out doing these other administrative tasks. There again, I want to make it really clear. I'm not too good to do those things, but other people are experienced in that. That's their gift, and they'll do it better. So be sure that you've got the right butt in the right seat on the right bus. Collins wrote a great book.
Yeah, I was just going to say that book. Yep.
Good to Great. And
yep.
So you need to be sure that your butt is in the right seat on the right bus, okay? Keep it in perspective. The other system that we do now that we didn't always do, we do disc profiles on people because you think differently than I think, right? And I've got to learn how to talk to you. So it's one of the big hiccups that people miss. They try to get Paul in to do it his way or my way, and that's not the way you think. I'm a high D on the disc profile. I'm very dominant. I'm adamant. I'm a go-getter. Well, my daughter is an SC. So my daughter needs all the details. And I'm like, oh, God, you're killing me with all these details. I don't know. Go figure it out. And she's like, you're not giving me enough information. Yeah. And so, hey, the system, do the disc profile on people so you'll know how to talk to them. But, Paul, I don't know how deep you want to go into the systems and processes. I'll take a breath for a second. But these are some things that you've got to do that are really important. I want to say a couple more things. Chemistry is huge, right? If you don't have the right chemistry, is one of the processes or systems that you implement, you're going to have oil and water happening pretty quick. There was a guy that I interviewed recently. He owns a company in Topeka, Kansas, and he's an amazing guy. His name's Cody Foster. And Cody started this company 11 years ago, and I was interviewing him recently. And from scratch, in 11 years, this past year, they did $5.5 billion in revenue. And I asked him what his number one mistake was. I said, if you could do it over, what would you do quicker? And he said, I would get rid of the bad apple faster. He said it took it to 150 employees before I realized that the chemistry was so important. He said, if you've got one bad apple, it will spoil the whole bunch. And he said, now we have a zero tolerance to bad chemistry. And so that's another system, if you will. Be sure that you align in the chemistry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for diving in there and providing a lot of good insight. And I just made a couple notes we'll kind of hit on. The first one really, and kind of an ongoing theme, is really it's all about the people. And I couldn't agree more. Everybody that I work with, I really say whatever business you have, there's thousands of other options doing the exact same thing. So when you have a pawn shop, there's you drive down the street, there's plenty of other pawn shops. Why are they going to go to your business? Yeah. It's because of the people, the relationships. You have a culture and brand that nobody else can duplicate because you have the best customer experience, best customer service. You treat your employees better than anybody else. And hitting on that chemistry, I kind of like to go with, a quote along the lines of, you're really hiring that personality and teammate, and then you're going to train them for the job. Because without chemistry, it doesn't really matter if they're an expert in XYZ. If they're not going to mesh well with your team. And I think you see it, if you follow sports, you see it all the time when
right.
a sports team is already good and then they bring in a superstar, and then all of a sudden they don't get any better. And it's, it boils down to that chemistry. So
Paul, can I stop you again?
Yeah, sure.
Because when you say stuff, I'm like, I got to say this. I can't get off this interview without saying this. Let me tell you what we did in the pawn shop that any of your listeners can do in their business.
Perfect.
So I'm a real student. I study people, and I really find out how we can meet their needs. So when people come in the pawn shop, and I'll use that as an example because not being boastful, but we really had great stores, or a Fortune 500 company wouldn't have bought us. We had systems in place, processes in place, and here's what we did. When the customer came in, first of all, they were embarrassed, right? They didn't want to be there. They're having to borrow money, right? So they're embarrassed to begin with. I would never stand on the back side of the counter. I would always come around the front side of the counter to eliminate the barrier. So find out what the barrier is between you and your customer. First of all, for us, it was the counter. I wanted them to feel like I'm your friend. I'm your advocate. I'm here to support you. Right? I want to be here for you. And I would stand with them and look at it. If it was a man, sometimes you kind of touch their shoulder. Hey, it's going to be okay. You don't do that with a woman. Don't touch a woman. But so I'm just saying that there's something about a little physical pat or a handshake, or you know what I'm saying? There's something about that people feel endeared as a result of it. The second thing that we did was we had cards printed up that looked like a gold American Express card. And it said VIP on the front. And on the back, it had a white sticker, and we would write their name on the sticker. We would write Paul Maskell on the back of the sticker. And it said on the front, you're very important here at this location. And I'd say, we're going to enter you into the computer. Don't lose this card. You always present this card, and here you're very important. We made them feel special because they didn't feel special. The other thing is most people would go down the road, they would leave our store, and they would go to another store, and they would pawn something else. And I said, why don't you pawn it here? And they said, well, I didn't know you could get another loan here, and I need more money. I was embarrassed to get 2 loans. And I said, listen, here's what we did. We created a document, and we wrote everything that we took in pawn on that document. And I would tell them, you go home, you can get 10 loans a day here if you want to. I want to loan you money. Well, now they're comfortable. See, I've taken away another barrier. I've made them feel important. I've made them feel special because I'm on the other side of the counter. I've given them a document, given them permission to pawn more. If they had kids with them, they got a sucker, right? And I would say, hey, if you get 10 loans here, your 10th loan is free, right? And they would be like, oh, my God. Now they're excited to come in the store. See, what is it your clients don't know that you do? What is the barrier between you and your clients? You've got to study. You've got to listen. I tell people, shut up long enough and listen. Stop waiting your turn to talk, and people will tell you what they want. I went to buy a new car for Robin, my wife, and I went in dressed kind of in shorts and a T-shirt and a ball cap. You know, it was on the weekend, and I walked in, and I told the guy, I said, I want this model car, and I want it blue, and I want the brown leather interior. He goes, I got just what you want, but it's red. And I went, well, I don't want a red car. I want a blue car, brown leather interior. This is the model car that I want. He goes, the red one's got rebates on it. So I repeated it again for the 3rd time, told the guy what I wanted. He goes, just come over here and look. And it made me mad. And I told Robin, I said, let's go. And the guy goes, hey, can I get your card? And I said, sure. I gave him my card and I left. Well, I got in the car. I was fuming. I said, you know what? That guy was too busy trying to make the sale rather than get me what I wanted. If he had gone inside, typed on his little computer, found the blue car with the brown leather, you know what I would have done, Paul? I would have wrote him a check. I would have wrote him a check, and I would have said, here's my address, deliver it when you get it, or call me and I'll come and get it. But he was too busy trying to make the sale. Listen, guys that are listening to this, stop trying to make the sale. Start listening to your client. They'll tell you exactly what they want, and then just fill the order. We're talking too much and we're not paying attention.
No, that's great. And I mean, even the business that I was running when I work with other people, it's actually, I mean, it's very simple. It's the golden rule, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. And when you're a customer, you wouldn't want to feel alienated or feel like a failure, feel embarrassed to walk in.
Sure.
You want to feel like I'm going to open this door. They're going to welcome me with open arms. They're going to get me what I need, and I'm going to feel like I can come back to that business. It's very simple. I think everybody just puts the transaction first when they get into that predicament. It's like, oh, I got to make the sale. I got to make the sale. But when you do serve, if you serve them first, the sale will come, and then the sale will come in perpetuity because they're going to refer you. They're going to come back. Whereas that car dealership, they're never going to see you again. And they can't measure that, right?
Here's the thing, Paul, and you know this well as I do. No one remembers what you say. They only remember how you make them feel.
What words of wisdom right there. I couldn't agree more. So really appreciate you kind of filling in there with what's going on, and really how to build a business with people. Yes, you need the systems and processes, but you need the right people. If you haven't read the book, Good to Great, I totally recommend it. Getting the right people on the right bus in the right seat, then you can drive that bus wherever you want it to go. You did hit on kind of the power of your mastermind personally, as well as within view from the top. And you said you switched from one-on-one to then going into the group setting, the mastermind setting. And I'm all on board with that. I think there's so much more value in a mastermind versus one-on-one. But can you give us a little bit of insight on why that works for you and your clients?
Yeah, sure. I still do one-on-one, but I've scaled it way back, and I only coach a handful of people now because talking about the systems and processes, once you duplicate other groups, the systems and processes are in place, right? We know exactly how many people to put in. We know the theme. We know the book. We have all the data in HubSpot. I mean, we just replicate that, and that's the reason we keep growing these groups. And then you have 10 people in there, not one person in there, and so you can scale that. And so it's just a lot easier. The value of the mastermind, though, is that, Paul, you only have one filter. You only have one life experience. It's impossible for you to look at it a different way because you can only see it one way. But when you surround yourself with trusted advisors, people that don't have anything to gain or lose as a result of what they tell you, now you're going to get an honest answer. Robin and I were going to do a business deal, and it was a large business deal not long ago. We were both convinced it was the way to go. We even laid out the plan. We said, this is what we're going to do. It'll be a home run. She goes, what do your guys say? And I said, well, I haven't talked to him yet. So I went and talked to him. Listen, Paul, 8 of the 10 guys said not to do it. And I'm like, what? I got to go home now and tell Robin we're not going to do it. And they said, here's why. I didn't know to know. I had no idea what they were talking about until they explained it, because they had had similar experiences, similar people. It's just that there's different filters. There's different perspectives. We did a construction project at our house recently, and there was a construction problem they couldn't solve. Had an engineer out, had a general contractor out. Nobody could solve this problem. We were standing in my driveway looking at the house. So I was on a one-on-one coaching call about 2 weeks after that, sitting on my patio behind the house. And I looked at it from a different perspective, and I solved it immediately. I wasn't looking at it from the right perspective. It's the same thing in mastermind groups. You don't know what you don't know. And when you surround yourself with smart people, now the IQ level becomes genius, because you've got people around you that can support you, edify you, encourage you, and give you different perspectives. There's no way, Paul, I would ever live my life without a mastermind group. I've been doing this for decades, and there's no way I would not. It keeps me in the center of the road. They're kind of like guardrails. They keep me from running off in the ditch. But you've got to be totally transparent. You got to be vulnerable, and that's where guys really get uncomfortable. They keep this veil up in front of them. They don't want you to know they don't know. They don't want you to know that they haven't been there. They want you to think they're living a life that they're not living. They want you to think well of them, and if you expose yourself and tell, oh, Paul won't think well of me anymore, it's nothing further from the truth. See, strength starts when you get transparent, you get honest, you become vulnerable, and then you get guys around you that can build you up to heights you've never been, take you places, and keep you there longer than you ever thought you would stay, because you have a different perspective.
That's great. And I totally recommend everybody out there find a mastermind. My first one, I just actually went on meetup.com 4 or 5 years ago and found a group of like-minded business owners locally. And it really is that once you get comfortable being uncomfortable and really exposing your business and whether it's your part of the personal life in the business or your business issues, and it's like, hey, this is where I'm at. I need to get here. I want to get here. How can you guys help support me there? And then chances are somebody in that room has already been there and done that, and then it's going to get you where you want to go quicker. And then, like you said, keep you there longer than you ever expected. So definitely recommend anybody out there, if you're not part of a mastermind, if you don't know what a mastermind is, it's basically a group of, like-minded individuals with similar goals doing all different things. I mean, mine had, people from all different types of businesses, but all with kind of, they knew where they wanted to go, and they were fine and really appreciated other people helping them get there. So that'll kind of fast forward into your normal day now. So you've done all these things, you've built all these businesses, you've traveled all over the place, and now you're serving all these other business owners in their personal journey, their life journey, their business journey. So what is a normal day in the life of Big A?
Well, I'm a real regimented person. I guess you would suspected that, because I believe in Hal Elrod's theory of the miracle morning. It starts early. You commented earlier on the Facebook Lives. Obviously, you watch those, or maybe you watch the recording. But I start 5 days a week early. I'm between 4 and 5 a.m. riser. I'll sit for an hour to an hour and a half every single morning. I'm a person of faith, and so I read scripture, I pray, I meditate, I sit before the Lord, I'm quiet, because God says he speaks to us in a small, still voice, and I want to be able to hear him. And if I'm checking my email or making a phone call, I can't hear from him. And so I do that. I pray for every member of my family every morning. I pray for the people that I coach, and I get myself centered. So I can't just get up, spew around like a half-cocked Sprite can. I want to get up in the mornings, have my coffee. I want to take this time to get myself centered and see what's going to be important for the day. And then my day starts. And I go to the Greenway. I walk, 4 or 5 days a week at the Station Camp Greenway. I'm 56 years old now, and I'm still in relatively good shape, and you can't do that if you're not exercising, so you got to take care of yourself. I interviewed Lee Cockrell recently. He was the VP of Disney. Mm-hmm. He had 20,000 people under his leadership and had 5 resorts that he maintained. And he said, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody. And you can't lose your health. I had a back injury recently, and man, I'm telling you, it put me down for 6 weeks. And you just I got to take care of myself better, because once you lose your health, nothing else really matters. So that's the way my day starts each and every day. Then I lead the mastermind groups, and I do one-on-one coaching. I try to do blocks of focused time, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. It's a myth that you can multitask. You cannot do it. I promise you, you can't give 100% of your attention to 2 things at the same time. So be very mindful of the way you spend your time. The other thing that we really do, Paul, is we plan the quarter out prior to the quarter. I'm about to go to Chicago next Thursday, and we'll plan the remainder of the year. I'll know the themes I'm going to be doing, any books I'm going to be writing, a course I'm going to be writing. I know the questions I'm going to be asking the mastermind members. We lay out everything. I know what I'm going to be doing each and every day. So that way I just get up and execute. I don't have to think, what am I going to be doing today? You'll become much more productive. Brian Moran wrote The 12-Week Year. And if you want your life to change, read that book and implement the strategies. I've got men that I coach that are doing that they're doubling and tripling their business as a result of paying attention to the task and not the end goal. And when you take care of the task, the goal takes care of itself. And so we operate very structured, very regimented, and we do it very deliberately. And we do that in 4 days a week. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, try to devote for myself and my family.
Beautiful. And I think we got a lot of the similarities in the schedule there. Totally agree that you got to take care of yourself first every morning, whatever your routine is: praying, meditating, working out, exercising, journaling, reading. Hal Elrod kind of talks about all those different things. You don't have to pull everything out of there, but really what works for you to get you centered, to get you in that right mindset to then, go crush your day. And when you have it proactively planned out and time blocked out, it just makes, like you said, you don't have to think about what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You just show up and execute. And when it's laid out, right, and then you got your other people focusing on their strengths, then you can just dial in your strengths, which is, coaching, serving, mm-hmm. leading others. So, and I really love the idea of having Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as your own day. So making that 3-day weekend every week, and blocking that time off, protecting your time after all, that is your most valuable asset. So definitely get a lot out of there from myself and from our listeners. So kind of diving into now, what is View from the Top all about? That's really what your main focus is: serving your customers, your clients, making sure that they got everything they need from you. So what is View from the Top all about anyway?
People ask me all the time, why did you call it View from the Top? I said, because nobody wants a view from the bottom. We all want our view from the top. Here's the thing, is that we've lived our life very proactively, not reactively. And a lot of people say, just give me bigger, better, shinier, faster, just give me more. Well, that may not be what's best for you. And I want to encourage you to take the time to do like a personal assessment. Take the time to really dive into what you want for your life. And I had to determine for me, Paul, what success even is. I had to think about that and think, hey, what is my view from the top? And for me, it was choosing my own schedule and having financial freedom. I like to have a little bit of money in the bank to pay the electric bill. It makes you feel good. It's like, it does give you a little sense of freedom and peace and security. But having an engaging family and meaningful relationships to me is paramount. That's like number one. My family's really close to me. Robin and I are about to celebrate 37 years of marriage. I have 2 beautiful daughters and 5 grandchildren. My daughters work with me in the business, and then the grandkids. I even got my oldest granddaughter working in the business.
Good.
But I love to train them and to teach them. So for me, that's success. I want to have a clear conscience in every decision. I want to be able to lay in the bed at night and think, hey, I did the right thing. I gave it my all. I did everything that I could do. I was honest to people. Taking care of myself physically is another thing that was really important on my list of success. And the thing that most people get into is they don't know how to be content. And you're like, what does that mean? Well, there's a distinct difference between being content and being complacent. I want to learn to be content in my present situation. Enjoy the now. Enjoy today. Don't live in I'll be happy when. But at the same time, we're designed to grow. I want to be able to take my life to the next level. I want to have experiences. I want to be able to grow, view from the top, and I want to train other men. So I don't want to be complacent. So learn to be content without being complacent. I love to dream. I love to have a clear sense of direction. Most people don't have a sense of clarity. They don't even know where they want to go. Robin and I plan deliberately. We want to do this. We want to give this away. We want to go to these places. We have bucket lists, places that we want to see. We're intentional about it. I already said that I was a Christian and I want to understand my faith more. It's very important to me. My faith is number one, then Robin, then my kids, then my grandkids, and then my business. You've got to put the priorities. You got to prioritize your priorities. You got to put the big rocks in first and work everything else around that. I want to have meaning and purpose in everything that I do. I don't want to just have passion, because you won't work long if you just have passion. But if you have purpose, you'll stay with it longer. And at the end of the day, for me, success, I want to leave a legacy of wisdom. I want my kids and my grandkids and the people that I coach to look back and say, hey, Big A was a wise guy. You know, he really knew what he was talking about. And that takes work, because sometimes I'm a knucklehead and I don't know what I'm doing. But that's the thing. But the bigger thing for me is after the wreck, post-wreck in 2001, the significance part is what I really want your listeners to think about. I want them to learn to put others' desires ahead of your own. I want you to do things when it's not convenient. I want you to sacrificially give to people. I want you to give even when it's not comfortable. See, success is about yourself and significance is about others. And at the end of the day, I want you to make your decisions as it relates to the legacy of others, not just yourself, and give to a point where you could change generations to come. And here's the funny thing, Paul. Here's what happens, and I've seen it happen. I'm living it, is that when you become more significant based, you will become more successful financially. And see, most people don't believe that. Most people live with a scarcity mentality, can't share my cards, can't take other people there, can't promote them. And it's just the opposite. When I started writing my book a couple of years ago, it took me 2 years to write the book, View from the Top. I started promoting other people. People call me all the time because they know Dave Ramsey and I are good friends, and they'll go, hey, Big A, will you introduce me to Dave Ramsey? No, I won't. And here's why I won't. You got to do your part. I said, how much have you promoted financial peace? How much have you promoted the things that Dave's doing? Or Ray Edwards with Copywriting Academy? How much are you reaching out? Jeff Goins, you know, I promoted him for 2 years. I promoted Cliff Ravenscraft, Ray Edwards, Dave Ramsey, Dan Miller, Ken Abraham, all those guys for 2 years. And then I went to them when I got through with my book and I said, hey, if you think this is good, would you consider endorsing my book? Are you kidding? Give me the book. See, here's the reason. I gave, and I gave, and I gave. And then it's the Gary Vaynerchuk.
I was just going to say that. Right hook. That's exactly what was on top of my mind. It's totally true.
It works. But people, what they want to do is go out on a date and grab the girl and kiss her right out of the gate. It don't work that way. You got to buy her dinner. You got to take her flowers. You got to court her and romance her. And then maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a kiss. It's the same way in business. You've got to have that giving mentality. If you want a great system, you want a great process, donate 25% of your time to taking others to areas that they want to go. And your 75% that's left for yourself will multiply threefold.
That is a great piece of advice. And really hitting on that of, give, and then when you ask, they'll be like, heck yeah, you promoted me for 2 years, and obviously you're not going to promote something that you don't believe in. And when you do promote things, you already have that credibility with your following, and they're going to listen. Big A said, check this book out. Big A said, check out Total Money Makeover. Big A said all these things, and they're going to do that. And then when it's time to do your thing and get that, get that spotlight, I think. And I was just on your Facebook page the other day, seeing all the people, that are promoting your book, and they're not promoting it just because you asked, they're promoting it because you helped them. Even if it was just one step, get them one step closer to where they want to go, whether it was John Lee Dumas or Dave Ramsey or all the people that you had promoting your book. And I will definitely, promote that book as well, because even just the relationship we've had online, plus the people that we have in common, the things you've done, and I watch your Facebook Lives probably at least twice a week, and there's people all over the world doing the exact same thing. So that is really great. Of getting back to the question is, what is the view from the top? And it's what your ideal view freedom is. You want to be at the top, and it's different for everybody. So what are the future plans now that this book is launched, and what's the future plans for Big A and View from the Top?
Well, I appreciate that. We're just trying to help ordinary men become extraordinary, and nothing against women at all, but our niche market is men. It's entrepreneurs between 27 and 55 years old, people that want to really take their lives to the next level personally and professionally. And I help you overcome some obstacles, some upper limit challenges that you're having. There's a lot of things that I talk about in the book, how to overcome major obstacles. A lot of people have had divorce. A lot of people have had financial ruin, many bankruptcies, and they think they're done. You're not done. You need to get up, because there's a lot of life left. There was a lot of things in the book that I've talked about where I had to overcome bitterness and offer forgiveness and live a radical type life, because I don't want to be average. My mom used to say all the time, yeah, you're not going to be average, because that's just as close to the bottom as it is the top. And you've got the ability to live higher than that and do better than that. And my mom instilled in me, can't, couldn't do it, and could did it all. She said, you've got to have a can-do attitude. And then as I developed my business career, I started seeing and questioning the things that were holding people back, and it was fear. They were afraid they were going to fail. And I started thinking through, what does that even mean, to fail? And I don't even believe in failure. You're like, oh, you're one of those weirdos. No, I'm not. But what I believe in is that you either succeed or you learn. And so take those things and apply it to the next, and then excel at that. I say fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure. And if you have a can-do attitude, like I said, my mom would say, can't, couldn't do it, could, did it all, and you fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure, you will succeed far above anything you ever expected. The other thing, and I don't know how much time we have, but I want to say this. No just means no for today. And the answer is always no unless you ask. And I want to give you a real life example. So my book, View from the Top, that comes out June 20th. You can pre-order it now at viewfromthetop.com/book. So go there. There's 5 interviews I give away, some amazing interviews. I interview some of the highest thought leaders out there, and I give you that. And then there's another book that I wrote called The Mastermind Blueprint. And here's the story I want to tell you. I wanted Seth Godin's endorsement so bad, because I love that guy. I love what he does. I sent him my book, and immediately I got a reply. Aaron, I'm sure the book is good. I don't have time to read it right now. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to pass. Well, it crushed me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really wanted Seth Godin's endorsement. So I thought, well, okay. Hey, I licked my wounds and got up and I went on. So I wrote another book that's going to be coming out soon called The Mastermind Blueprint. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it another whirl. So I sent it to Seth Godin again. Most people have gotten turned down. They wouldn't go back again, right? It's just the nature of people. No, I've been punched once. I don't want to be punched again. He loved the book. In 48 hours, I had a rave review from him, and it was endorsement that we put on the front cover of The Mastermind Blueprint. Here's what I want to challenge your listeners. No just means no today. It doesn't mean no forever. Be relentless. Be determined. Persevere. Push through. Have the grit and determination regardless of your circumstances. If you want it bad enough and there's purpose in what you're doing, don't let the naysayers hold you back. And I want to encourage you to have a view from the top. you've got to have a great amount of perseverance. You've got to have a certain amount of grit and determination if you believe in your cause. Passion won't keep you there, but purpose will. And you too can have a view from the top.
Well said. That was awesome. And I think that's a really good way to kind of wrap up our whole conversation there. Continue to serve, continue to persist. If you never ask, you'll never know the answer. And the answer is always no, unless you do ask. And if you get no, you're one step closer to getting a yes, eventually. So Aaron, thank you so much, for providing all of this good insight, wisdom, experience, and knowledge for everybody out there. But all good things do come to an end. But before we do sign off, we do want to give our listeners a little bit more look into what you recommend and what you're doing on a daily basis. So it is time for our rapid recommendation, where all things related to systems, automation, and most importantly, freedom. So I've got 6 topics. I'm going to give them to you one at a time. You're going to give us one thing for each topic for our listeners to digest or go check out. So the first thing is one book that you would recommend.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Without a question, it's a game changer. Carnegie wrote it. It ought to be required reading. It'll teach you how to put the person first.
Awesome. And Matt Miller recommended the same book during our interview, and he said, don't be discouraged by the title of the book. It's not all about kind of being, the title is very misconceiving. So I've read it. I would definitely recommend everybody else out there. It's all about people, and then everything else will come along with it. So what about one quote that you like to live by?
Can't, couldn't do it, and could did it all. It's been my life mantra now for 50 years.
And kudos to your mom for instilling in that 50 years ago.
Thank you.
Well done there. What about one tool that you like to use on a regular basis?
Text Expander. It is an amazing tool. We can't live without it.
And what does Text Expander do, actually?
Yeah, well, you got to get it, Paul. So if I'm going to tell you what it is, you got to get it.
I'm going to get it. I'm getting it.
So we get questions asked all the time, right? I mean, the same question. People dealing with the same thing. You can go in Text Expander and you can write a reply and give it a code. And then when you go into your email, you can hit asterisk and the code, and it auto-populates the field with the pre-written message, and then you can customize it to fit that person. So you don't have to write it but one time, and then you go customize it. So you can use it on any device. You can build, if you've got clients, like I have people that want quotes all the time for my coaching services, I can say to Paul Maskell, and then auto-populate the field, and it has all the links. It has everything already in there using the code. So it's a game changer, Text Expander.
Awesome. Beautiful. I will definitely get that. I am all about doing things smarter, efficiently, and once you do it once, you don't have to do it again. So thank you for that great recommendation. What about one podcast that you like to listen to?
Oh, me. Dan Miller has been my personal coach and mentor for 2 decades, and 48 Days podcast is a must listen to.
Awesome. I definitely recommend that as well. 48 Days to the Work You Love, I believe it's called. We'll definitely link that up in the show notes. What about one community that you like to hang out in, whether it's a local community, networking place, or someplace online that you like to hang out in?
Yeah, the Silent Sales Team with Jim Cockrum. Jim is a mastermind member, and they've got a great community. It's very helpful. 35,000 people in that community. So yeah, wow. Jim Cockrum's the Silent Sales Team.
Cool. We will definitely link that up for everybody out there to go check out. Obviously, 35,000 people think it's the spot to be, so make that 35,001. What about one parting piece of advice for any business owner out there who is stuck, burned out, or just trying to get over the hump?
Yeah, stop listening to the naysayers and follow your intuition, your own personal goals and dreams, and don't let anyone derail you. So stay true to yourself and accomplish the purpose you were designed to create.
Awesome. You are the man. Aaron Walker, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to impart some of your knowledge, wisdom, and enthusiasm to our community. Hopefully this helps everyone out there get one step closer to achieving ultimate freedom in their business and in life. Before we sign off, where can our listeners go to keep in touch with you?
Yeah, the best place to go is viewfromthetop.com, but don't miss the opportunity to get both books that I'm giving away and the 5 videos for pre-ordering my book, View from the Top. Go to viewfromthetop.com/book, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Awesome. Thank you for your generosity there, providing that to all our listeners. Viewfromthetop.com/book. If you're driving, walking, and you don't have the ability to type that in, it will be in the show notes. And then if you want to hang out with Aaron on Twitter, it's VFT Coach. Or if you do want to check out his very good, inspiring morning Facebook Lives, head on over to facebook.com/Aaron Walker VFTT. So that's all we've got. Aaron, thanks again for taking some time out of your morning to impart all of this great knowledge to all of our listeners out there.
Thanks, Paul. Have a good day, buddy. We'll see you.
Thank you as well. Everybody else, stay tuned for next week's episode as we dive into another fantastic interview with Doug Parker from Ambitious Radio. And if you like what you're hearing, we'd always appreciate a friendly review, subscribe, or share it with your friends if you want them to know what's going on. So just a quick reminder, you can get all the show notes that we had talked about today by going to our website, paulmaskill.com. And if you haven't checked out our videos, all of our interviews are recorded on video, no edits, real and authentic. So you can check those out on Facebook and YouTube as well. So until next time, if you want to hang out with other listeners, like-minded entrepreneurs, feel free to come join our free Facebook group at bizfreedomformula.com, where we can continue the conversation and put the plans in place to work less, make more, and achieve ultimate freedom, all while increasing the value of your business. So keep rocking, trust the process. Talk to you soon.